It's me, your Void, and I feel the urge to quote Hamilton. It is the time of the year again. It is the time for the fall semester of Orilium, and it's the final time I have to suffer through a TBR as tall as I am. If you have been around my channel for a hot second, you will know that I have a love-hate relationship with Orilium because I had the brilliant idea to do 2 callings at the same time. The first one being the Feywild Cartographer, and the other one being the Demonologist. Both of them cover a range of prompts, and in fall, that whole thing balloons to a TBR that is 14 things long. Yes, I hate myself for it, but it is the last time I have to suffer through this ordeal that past self bestowed upon me, because this is the 5th time I'm doing this. I don't know, I forgot how many times you have to do it, but it's the final time I have to do it, and I will do a dual graduation as a Feywild Cartographer and a Demonologist if I get through this TBR this year. Thank fuck. The prompts this year are especially dumb. I had such a headache figuring this TBR out, you wouldn't believe. Because in my Eternal Wisdom, I also tried to fit all my Orilium reads into the final book support group that is happening smack down in the middle of September. Because of course, at least I wasn't so dumb to think that I could tack on to the 14 books I need to read, because that would have been a living hell indeed. And I also just realized by looking at my handy dandy spreadsheet down here, of these 14 books, only 2 are going to be physical reads. Everything else is digital. Okay. I think the way I listed them in my spreadsheet is the way they are listed on the callings sheet. So it's not alphabetical. I will separate these into the Feywild Cartographer and the Demonologist, and then we go down the list. And as usual, we have some repeat offenders in terms of prompts. I am also going all out on my guild points and buy basically every single scroll, because there are prompts in here that I was literally unable to fulfill, so I switched them. With my switching though, I try to stay at least in the same subject and just use another one of those. There are some where I had to completely change what I was doing because... Without further ado, let's head into this because we are going to be here for a while. Starting with the Feywild Cartographer. The first subject I have to do for the Feywild Cartographer is I need an ordinary in elemental studies, and that has the prompt of read something that has water on the cover. For that I went with Saltblood by I don't know the author. This is going to be a repeating theme in this video because I forgot to write them down. I put up the covers so you can read the author's name for yourself. Now, what is Saltblood all about? It is an alternate history retelling of the life of Mary Read. You know, the woman that disguised herself as a man to be a very famous pirate. And in this one we have some gender bending on top of that going on, I think. It has something to do with like exploration of gender. That is all I remember. All I remember. Alternate history, pirates, gender bend. Moving on. I also need an O in animal studies, for which I need to pick a debut of an author. The only debut I have on my shelves that I would actually be interested in reading is, let go, The Near Witch by V.E. Schwab, but I am not picking up The Near Witch by V.E. Schwab because I have been told this is a very atmospheric read fitting for the fall season. September in Germany is not a very fall-y month. It's actually one of the hottest months of the year. So I'm not going to pick up a fall vibe book necessarily, and I put this one back on the shelf. And other than that, I don't have a debut on my shelves that I have not yet read. So I bought a scroll and switched it to reading a sequel. And for that one, I pick up The Fey Princess by Nikki and Crowe, I want to say, which is the last book in the Vicious Lost Boys series. Now, I have not read book 3 of that series yet, but gotta wait for it because it's on my TBR for the Demonologist. So there will be some crossing of the streams going on between these two callings. As long as I read everything by the end of the year, it's fine. It's fine. This is fine. Everything's fine. And The Fae Princess is the final book in the series of The Vicious Lost Boys, which is a why-choose, dark-ish romance where Peter Pan and the Lost Boys kidnap Wendy and shenanigans ensue. And here's another O, this time in astronomy, and the O in astronomy wants me to read something that features a character that has an invisible illness/disability, something that you can't see by just looking at the person. And for that one, I am going to read The First Sister by, please look at the cover to figure out the author's name. This one is a sci-fi book about, I believe, an android character, and she is being shipped around as this first sister entity to do something. And I forgot what it was. But I remember that the blurb said her captain, the person who is chaperoning her around, suddenly dies, and she gets a new one, and that complicates things for some reason. Why did I put this down for the prompt of a invisible illness/disability? Well, there is apparently a mute character in here quite prominently. I think it might even be the main character. I just remember there is a mute character in here. The Feywild cartographer needs a lot of O's. This next one is in alchemy, and the prompt says to read something with sun on the cover. For that one, I am also picking up a scroll, not in order to switch the prompt, but in order to allow me to read a book that I already started before the month started. And in this one, I go with Sunbringer by Hannah Kaner, which I read the first 40 to 50% of, and then for some reason didn't pick up in like a hot second, and now I just want to finish it, because otherwise it's probably going to end up on my December TBR. Sunbringer is the second book in the God Killer series. I'm pretty sure the series has a name that is not God Killer series, but whatever. And this book deals with the fallout of what happened at the end of book 1, and we still follow the characters of Kissen, the god hunter by trade, as she goes through a rough patch because things happened. We also follow Sketty and I forgot the name of the little girl, but they hang out together and they try to unravel the mystery of who is Sketty and why is he here. And we have Ilogast, who has to deal with the fact that shit happened to him. I loved Godkiller, and I very much enjoyed Sunkiller for as far as I read it. There is no reason for me to not pick up the book. I just at some point didn't pick it up, and then the month was over, and then I just forgot about it. So now I remember it, and I'm going to finish it. The next O is for Inscription, and this one wants me to read something that has a title in which the number of letters present equal a prime number. G is out here making me do math, and I don't even need arithmetic for anything. Rude. Anyway, I found Sidetracked by St. Abby, Stabby, which is the second book in the Mindfuck series, in which we follow a FBI profiler who is falling in love with a serial killer he is maybe not hunting. And she knows he is an FBI agent who's profiling serial killers. He doesn't know that she's a serial killer. Shenanigans ensue. Book 1 ended with a cliffhanger, so I'm very interested in seeing where this goes. Inscription is coming back because Inscription also needs a qualified, meaning we have to go one level deeper, and the qualified one wants me to read something that has a vertical title, meaning you can read the title when the book is standing up, like so. Like this is vertical, this is horizontal. If you can read it like this, it doesn't qualify. You have to be able to read it like this. And for this one, I have to suffer through reading a massive tome of a book. I'm talking about the massive edition of Soul Eater, which covers the first 3 volumes. I'm going to read all 3 of them because I love Soul Eater. This is my favorite manga of all time. Is it stupid? Yes. Is it needlessly horny? Also yes, even though it does get better later down the line, but the first couple of volumes are weird. As you can see, I hope you can see, you can read the title when it's standing up. It says Soul Eater right there, meaning it qualifies. In Germany, they are now publishing the massive volumes that collects multiple volumes at once, and if you put them all together, it just spells Soul Eater and has like a giant picture of all the characters. And I'm not really a collector of like special editions, but this one I desperately need. Also, my volumes have been read to death. There are literally 1 or 2 volumes that I had to tape together again because I read those mangas a couple of times. In Soul Eater, we follow a bunch of children who are trained at a school for not quite monster hunters, but kind of monster hunters. And half of these children are what is called a hunter, and the other half is actually a kind of human species. It's never defined what exactly they are, but it's people that can turn into weapons. Like literal weapons. The titular Soul Eater, yes, that is his name, can turn into a giant scythe, for example, and he's wielded by his best friend Maka, and they are hunting down weird people that do bad things because their souls are tainted in a way that makes them dangerous for spreading a viral form of insanity, and we cannot have that kind of chaos. So these kids are not only trained to hunt these people, they are also actively hunting down these people. Namely with one goal. They want to collect 99 of these evil souls, and then they want to hunt down a witch to eat the witch soul, bringing it up to 100, and then they turn into a death scythe, the weapon children, which is a super duper cool weapon that is wielded by Death themselves, who is a funny little guy. I could go on about Soul Eater for like ages. Just know that I'm going to read all 3 of the first volumes because they are in one thing, and I love it, and you can read it. It fits for the prompt. So yeah, I'm moving on now because. And the last prompt for the Feywild Cartographer is an ordinary in demonology. That will definitely come back later, and that wants me to read something that has an emotion in the title, which is very hard to do if you're not a contemporary romance girly. So I'm going with Berserk, which might be a little bit of a stretch, but you have to be very, 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 very angry to go Berserk. And anger is an emotion. I go with Berserk, I say it counts. We go with it. I'm going to read Berserk. I had Berserk on my radar for a hot second because I am a huge fan of the big staples of the From Software game library, which are Dark Souls, Bloodborne, and Elden Ring. And on top of that list is literally Bloodborne. And a lot of people say, if you like Bloodborne, specifically the complicated layered storytelling of Bloodborne, you might want to look into Berserk because it is similar to each other, and I know that the people behind these games, especially the Dark Souls games and parts of Elden Ring, draw very heavy inspiration from Berserk because they are fans of this manga. I think there are multiple characters that are directly inspired by the main character of this, so it's time I pick up Berserk. And this time I'm doing it. I'm doing it. I'm finally doing it. I'm going Berserk. I know nothing about Berserk, other than it is a beloved classic thing that happened. And there is a guy who is missing an arm and he's wielding a giant ass sword. That is all I know about Berserk. Now moving on to the Demonologist, which we start out with an ordinary in elemental studies, meaning I have to read something else that has water on the cover, and for that I'm finally biting in the sour apple. I kind of like sour apples actually. I'm going to read Sword of Kaigen by ML1. Everyone and their mom says that this book is fantasy perfection, apparently. I have no idea what it's about. I just know this is like the holy grail of standalone fantasy. That is all I know about the Sword of Kaigen. Everyone loves it. I have not heard a single bad word about this book. So I'm going for it, finally. Then I need an O in spells and incantations, and this one wants me to read something that has a D6 page count. So let's see what the dice had in store for me. I already know it, you don't, so I'm going to insert a clip right here that shows me rolling a die. As you can see, I got a 1, which means I have to read something that is a maximum of 100 pages long, which, thank you, whoever is responsible for that. I guess it's RNGesus? I don't know, but yeah, with a TBR this long and something like Sword of Kaigen on there, I can use something petite. For this one, I picked The 6 Deaths of the Saint by Alix E. Harrow? which is part of a collection of short stories from a bunch of rather famous authors. I know Tomi Adeyemi is in there, Tamsin Mual from like for Gideon the Ninth stuff. Who else is in there? Garth Nix is in there, I think. Like it's 6 or 7 short stories in a collection, and they all write cool stuff, I guess. I have no idea what the 6 Deaths of a Saint is about. I guess there is going to be a saint, and they are going to die a whopping total of 6 times. I could be wrong. Spells and Incantations wants me to also do a quality check on it, so I technically need to read something that was released in 2025. Now, I have developed a hate for this specific prompt over the course of this year, because I am not someone who follows new releases as religiously as most of the book community on the internet does. I just don't care about getting my hands on a book that when it comes out right away. I also don't care about reading them right away when they come out. I'm just not that into the whole FOMO aspect. And for some reason, every single readathon this year has decided to put this prompt up. So I kind of ran out of 2025 published books to read. Yes, I still have Burial Bones in the Midnight Soil to read, but I'm also somewhat of a mood reader, and I do not feel the vibe for Burial Bones in the Midnight Soil. So kind of disillusioned with this prompt, meaning I bought a scroll, switched it out because I couldn't give a shit. And I changed it out for the Ordinaries prompt of Spells and Incantations, so I did another d6 roll, as pictured here. And the dice gods really do love me, because I can work with a 2. 2 means I have to read something between 100 and 200 pages, and for that one I picked up a repeat offender, not specifically this issue, but definitely this series, with the 7th installment of the Creature Cafe series by Cleo Evans, Little Taste of Need. This one follows up directly after the events of what happened in Creature Cafe Volume 6, because we follow the best friend of that main character, and she has discovered monsters for the first time and is like, yeah, I could shag that, and she goes right in for the kill and asks the barista to pair her up with a monster, which in this case I think is a snake person. I believe it was a Cephix snake person deal this time around. And the whole Creature Cafe series is about this guy. He is the barista. He doesn't have a name. His name is the barista. And he has a coffee shop, and he serves humans and monsters, and his side hustle is bringing humans and monsters together as like a mates situation. And if you know me, you know that I love Cleo Evans, so I had to put it here, right? Then I need an O in Conjuration, and for that one, the prompt of having a circle on the cover circled back around. See what I did there? And for this one, I'm putting up Vicious Darling, which is the 3rd book in the Vicious Lost Boys series. Now, by looking at this cover, you wouldn't think there is a circle on it. But have you considered that every O is also a circle? There you go. And as I said before, this is a Peter Pan retelling in which Wendy gets kidnapped by Peter, and there is a white shoes aspect to the whole thing. And this is the 3rd book, so I have to read this one first before I go to the other one. This is where the whole crossing of the streams comes in. And now for the hard hitter, because what does a demonologist need to know about? Of course, demonology. So we have an O in demonology, which wants me to read something with an emotion in the title. For this one, I again went with Angry. Not Berserk Volume 2 though. Might happen, might not. But for this one, I went with In the Hands of an Angry God by Perceive the author's name, which is a retelling, I guess you could call it, of what happened while Moses was up on his little mountain receiving a text message from God. It basically follows the story of how the golden calf was made and why and for what reason, and the Christian God comes down and is like, I'm up there on the mountain telling your buddy Moses to not do that, and what do? You do it! It's a short story, so I don't expect some Catholic deep dive into Bible stories or something, but yeah, it's another perspective of a Bible story, because we only ever get the perspective of the guy who's actually up on the mountain getting the text message, right? Given the title, I'm expecting Old Testament God, and that guy was a bitch. That guy was a full-blown bitch. Then the Q for demonology is another one of those prompts that gave me a massive headache, because I have to read something that takes place or heavily features a cave, a dungeon, or a villain lair, I guess. And I so desperately wanted to find something that fit that is not Dungeon Crawler Carl, but in the end it became Dungeon Crawler Carl. If you live on BookTube and not under a rock, you will have seen this one going around, because everyone and their mom is currently in love with this. I literally never read the blurb for this, but I watched so many people fall in love with Dungeon Crawler Carl that I know that this is about a guy named Carl who's running after his cat, or rather his ex-girlfriend's cat, when aliens invade, and then everything suddenly turns into a giant dungeon, and he has the option of go up to the surface and die, or go through the dungeon and be our new TV show entertainment guy. I know that this is lit RPG fiction, and I know that the audiobook is so much better than just flat out reading the book. So that is exactly what I'm going to do. I'm going to listen to a Dungeon Crawler Carl. And don't you dare tell me that there is not a dungeon in there. I'm going to scream. Editing me here, because I brought up the topic of audiobooks. You might want to stay away from Audible if you're listening to audiobooks, mostly because of their new stupid model when it comes to paying authors, or rather not paying authors. It's a very complicated thing. I recommend you watch the, at this point, 3 videos Daniel Green has made about the topic, because he actually took the time to go through it and figure out what this whole thing is about, and he has the sources and everything. I will link him down below in the description. Also, there is a change.org thing that hopefully forces Amazon to rethink what they are doing, and I urge you to sign that one and to be informed about the topic, because it's not good. It's not good. It's very much an evil corporate overlord Amazon kind of shtick. So go check that out. No, back to the video. And the final prompt for my Orilium TBR and for the career of the demonologist is, of course, the distinguished tier in demonology, which wants me to read something by an author that is younger than me. I have no idea how Gen Z people are going to do this, because I had trouble finding someone that is younger than me that I'm actually interested in reading. I have no idea how people in their mid-20s or even younger do this prompt. I have no idea. And I didn't do it either. I do have 2 options on my shelves that are younger than me, one being R.F. Kwang of Poppy War fame. R.F. Kwang is 2 months younger than me. My birthday is in March. R.F. Kwang's birthday is in May, according to the internet. But honestly, I'm not feeling like continuing the Poppy War, because I quite honestly kind of think I have to reread book 1 to go into book 2. It's been a hot second. The other one I could have picked up is actually Alethea Faust of Sex Wizards fame. And I do have the rest of the books at my disposal. But again, at this point, I think I have to reread Initiation to enjoy Mastery, because it's been a hot second. And there's nothing speaking against me reading Initiation. You actually might need to keep this in mind as a backup option. If you see me reading this, it is for this prompt for author younger than me. But given that I have to read 14 different things, I decided to go with a safer option I can knock off quickly. So I bought another scroll to switch out the prompt. I completely left the demonology class this time around, I think, and I went for read a translated work. So I can pick up another manga, in this case Spy Family Volume 5, which is the continuation of Spy Family, in which we follow a secret agent who has to come up with a fake family story to get to a new target he has, and he accidentally fake marries a professional assassin, and he accidentally fake adopts a child that can read minds, and in Volume 4, he also fake adopts a dog that can see the future. There is chaos going around in this series. I read up to volume 4, so now putting volume 5 up there also then later qualifies for the final book support group. Given that it's a single volume manga, I should be able to knock this out very quickly. But again, if I find myself having more time than I thought I would have with this giant TBR, I might switch over and reread Initiation instead. And that would then be the author younger than me prompt. So I may be saving some good reputation points on there. I don't know. But also, I have no idea if they transfer over to a new character, because at this point I think I want to make a new character for next April. Not quite sure yet. The only thing I do know for certain is that I'm not going to do 2 callings that require me to read every single book on this planet. And that is it. That is my final Orilium TBR. The final one I have to do with this much to read on it. I would love to hold up a stack of 14 books, because that would be quite the impressive feat. Instead, I could do this. I can hold up 3 things, one of which might not even be read. Fascinating, isn't it? Just pretend this is 14 books, for my sake. Feel impressed, I guess. If you made it to the end of this video, let me know if you are participating in the Orilium Readathon. Let me know what your calling is. Are you insane like me, or are you actually like a normal person? If you don't want to talk to me at all, leave a wizard emoji down in the comments below, and I guess I will see you in the next video. Bye.